pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The select board is going to go into executive session. And, sorry.
No, I was gonna just move into go to executive. Did you want to
No,
explain
I just
something?
wanted to announce that to the people here that once we get into executive session, you're going to have to leave. The door will be shut. And then we think we'll be very brief. Okay, we don't want to keep you here too long, tie you up.
And then we'll open the door and call you
I
in.
just leave now?
Yeah, you can
Sure,
just sit right
sure.
out there. Thank you. I move to enter executive session pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of interest in real property, the public discussion of which may have a detrimental impact on the negotiating position of the board. And pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to review for release and/or approve the following executive session minutes in accordance with Section 22F and G, and to reconvene in open session to approve and/or release said minutes if the publication shall not defeat the lawful purpose of the executive session. Draft January 13th, 2026, executive session meeting minutes. And we need a roll call.
We'll do a roll call vote. Patrick Heffernan.
Roger Heffernan, yes.
Alicia Greco, yes?
Bill DeMayo, yes.
Leslie Matthews, yes?
Jeff Walker, yes.
Okay. So we skip right by this old business. Because we're not releasing it.
Yeah.
One my head, Tony?
Hey, thanks for coming out, everybody. It's in this, the road's not that great, it's snowing like crazy, but I'm glad you're here. I think we should start off by, let's go around the table, starting with Joy. We'll introduce ourselves to you, so you'll know who we are.
My name's Joy Stanton. I'm the Assistant Town Administrator.
Patrick Heffernan on the select board.
Alicia Greco, and the vice chair on the select board.
I'm Bill DeMayo, the chair of the select board.
Leslie Matthews, clerk of the select board.
Jeff Walker, select board.
Tracy Blaze, Newburytown administrator.
And Lisa Mead, Town Council.
So we're glad you're here tonight because, I mean, we really want to hear you speak. You want to talk to us, I'm sure. Tell us your concerns and your ideas, and we really want to hear them, okay? Lisa, our town council, is going to give a higher level preview of what the topic is about easements.
Sure. So I'll just go back to last year, around the time that, in the middle of the summer, during the Clever monitoring, some issues came up about accessing private properties. The town had representatives of the board, Conservation Commission. Mark actually was at this meeting, had a meeting with Fish and Wildlife and Audubon related to the monitoring on private properties. And Fish and Wildlife at that time mentioned easements, and Tracy and I, neither of us had been with the town at the time in 2009, and were unaware of any easements and the requirements and the permitting that occurred in the beach management program or the beach nourishment program in 2009. So we received all of the material we could get the state to send us. Joy did a tremendous amount of research, and we put together the package of permitting that occurred around the beach nourishment project in 2009. And what we discovered was that, in fact, as part of the water quality certification, in order to receive the dredged sand, the property owners who received that sand were required to provide easements to the town relative to monitoring of wildlife moving forward and protected wildlife moving forward. And as part of that also, we discovered that a town meeting had authorized the select board to accept the easements, but that the select board had not ever actually accepted those particular easements. However, the easements had been recorded and signed by the property owners at the time. They were recorded apparently by, although I have no evidence as that's just been informed, that they were recorded by DCR, although I don't know that for a fact, but they were recorded. And so that kind of brings us up to now, and whether or not the select board is gonna take any action or not take any action on those easements, and how we work with Fish and Wildlife moving forward. And here we are to hear from the Plum Island property owners.
Right, thank you very much, Lisa. Mark, I think you'd like to address everybody.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. Thank you, Lisa.
Please come up to the podium and introduce yourself.
So, good evening to my neighbors and community, all of you as well, especially on a snowy night. As I said to Bill, we'll see who the true New Englanders are tonight. So I want to thank all of you on the select board, because as you know, I came to you last month and you were on the edge of making a vote about whether or not to accept the easements, and I asked you on the basis of some arguments and on the behalf of the foundation and all the people here, basically, or most people here, to do three things. One, to hold a public consultation, which we're doing. We're suffering a little bit from the snow of it all, but that'll have to do because it's life here. But anyway, you've done that, and I really appreciate that, and I want to thank you all for that. And you've delayed the vote in order to hear these things, so thank you. The next thing I asked for was an independent legal review. You chose not to do that, but we chose to actually do that. And we have our attorney here, George Hall, who in a moment will give you his briefing on the issues and matters at hand. He has reviewed, by the way, all the original documents. He'll refer to those. George, just as by way of introduction, was the town council for a number of towns in Massachusetts, Ipswich, Needham.
Nope.
No,
Belmont,
Belmont.
Bedford, Bentham,
Bedford,
Norfolk.
sorry. And Rentham and Norfolk earlier, is that correct? So George has a bit of experience as town council and understands kind of a little bit of how to look at the issues. And in a moment, I'm gonna ask him to come up. The third thing we asked for was to refer this to the members of the Plum Island kind of beach committee. I'm not even sure really what we called it, Alicia. But it was a group that you referred to, Lisa, that met to manage things relative to the beach and included a number of select people, Lisa and Tracy and others. But since you're all here and part of it, I don't think that's really important. But I do think it's important that we're having this conversation and important that you're gonna hear our legal review. The issues for all of you, very simply, fall into three categories. One is the lack of legality of the easements in terms of the way they were completed or not completed, the way they were filed improperly, the fact that enclosures and addendum were added after signatures, and that although the town meeting did approve the two specific properties that were taken by eminent domain, the specific properties that are the rest of the easements were never approved. George will cover these issues. The second set of issues has to do with statute of limitations and what are called latches, and the fact that there have been a variety of time limits placed on this process. George will review some of those with you, and I think it will give you some information. The third area is a constitutional question as to what we perceived as the extortion and coercion to sign the easements. For those of you who weren't there at the time, we had already lost a house on the beach. Some of you may remember the Posada house was taken by the ocean that year. And all of us were literally on the edge of the ocean, worried about what was gonna happen. We had applied through what I would call a relatively laborious process to get these funds to actually do the dredge. By the way, we were the only municipality on the whole United States that got sand placed on the beach that particular year due to our efforts. And there were a lot of things that came up, kind of as that occurred. But what we felt was coerced and extorted to sign the easements. That was what we felt. And there are laws about coercing to sign things, but that's, Bob Connors is gonna address the constitutional issues. And I guess you're gonna read his letter, Bill, as his contribution, because he's remote, folks, and not this moment though, Bill, let me have George first, please.
Oh, I know.
But Bob's remote, and because of the regulations that we didn't notify everybody that people could be remote and chime in, he can't chime in either. So he wrote a letter and he's given it to Bill. I think without further ado, George, could I ask you to come up, please? And by the way, folks, the first piece in your packet that I gave you to all of you is the letter I wrote January 26th and 27th to you, all of you, this body. The second piece of documentation is George's letter on behalf of the Plum Island Foundation to Bill and the members of the select board. George, would you please report?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is George Hall. I'm an attorney at Anderson and Krieger in Boston. I've practiced law for over 40 years, many years as a municipal counsel and many years doing environmental work, working on a couple of beaches around the Commonwealth involving habitat protection, including Plymouth Beach. And so I'm familiar with the background of how the state works with municipalities to manage endangered species habitat on beaches. The Plum Island Foundation asked me to look into claims, and I think particularly as a threshold issue, that the town was facing some kind of civil penalty liability if the town did not proceed to vote to accept these easements, if the board did not vote to accept these easements. And I was puzzled by where that authority would come from, because any, and I don't know whether this was a threat, it was an advisory, it was this might happen kind of, I haven't seen anything in writing that deals with the threat of civil penalties, but it sounds to me as if it has been mentioned that there's a possibility that the town needs to, or the board needs to take this action in order to avoid that. So the first place I looked was in the history of the permitting of this in 2009 and 2010. And it is abundantly clear to me that the town is not, first of all, was not the permittee for this for the project. It was DCR. That DCR was required to, that the easement that's referenced in the water quality certification is necessarily, first of all, just to do the project, place sand on the beach on private property. Second of all, to ensure there was public access, because federal funds can't be spent on this kind of project unless the beach is open to the public. And really incidentally, to allow for some post-construction beach management. And there was a lot of correspondence, and this was a requirement that was placed on DCR, which was the permittee of the project. And there was a lot of correspondence between Natural Heritage and DCR, and basically DCR obtained the commitment from the town on a voluntary basis to do beach management for maybe 5 years. The September 1st letter from Natural Heritage that made the determination under the Endangered Species Act for the projects required beach monitoring for 2 years following completion of the project. DCR tendered an agreement, and I think it's the agreement that's not signed but attached to the beach management plan that's on the town's website, that said the town would agree to carry out beach management for 5 years. And the agreement was terminable at will, something that DCR acknowledged to Natural Heritage in its letter of about the same time, that this was something the town had agreed to do on a voluntary basis, but DCR could step in and do it if the town decided it didn't want to do it anymore. And I raise all this because the suggestion that anything that came out of the 2009 permitting process exposes the town to penalties is completely absurd. There is nothing no basis for alleging the town has any ongoing obligation to do anything that's backed by fines. So the discussion about this shouldn't be informed by, if we don't do this, we're gonna get fined. Now, the other potential issue regarding fines is the prospective issue that every town that owns a beach and provides public access to it, a beach where piping plovers are likely to nest, has to deal with the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. And that on property the town owns and where it provides public access, the town may have a liability if it doesn't provide adequate protection to the nesting sites, observed nesting sites of piping plovers. And again, the town has been contracting for at least a decade for this place, the monitoring and the fencing of nesting sites on its own property. There's no suggestion that the town has failed to do that in any way that's caused a disturbance of habitat. There's no suggestion that the town is going to fail in the future. So again, the idea that penalties are being threatened is assuming a violation that hasn't even happened yet. We're here in March. So the question is, what obligation did the town undertake to carry out beach management monitoring on the private properties that outside the beach that the town owns? The easements do mention access for the purpose of doing monitoring in accordance with the beach management plan on file in 2009 with the Conservation Commission, which deals with piping plover habitat protection, period. And you've heard about some of the issues regarding, signatures that post-date notarizations, exhibits added after the fact. It's clear that it was DCR that recorded them because their general counsel's name is on all of those documents as a return to person, which is what you do when you're recording a document. They were supposed to be recorded by the grantors complete. They were not. The town did not vote to accept these particular easements. They're unsigned as accepted by the town. This was 16 years ago. The town has taken the position, my understanding is the board has always taken the position that monitoring has been offered to the private property owners, but that property owners' consent is required to do the monitoring on their property. And as far as I know, every property owner has consented, at least up until last year, to the protection of the piping plover nests on his property. There's a way forward here that doesn't involve saber rattling against the town and threatening it with fines if it's not carrying out beach management on private property. The town doesn't have any liability. The town has never undertaken to do monitoring on private property. It doesn't have any liability for any take that occurs on private property. There's an opportunity here for the town and the property owners to continue to collaborate voluntarily without going down this road of acceptance of easements that were really recorded with a lot of irregularities and certainly without any consent by the town. We're urging you not to proceed with voting to accept these easements. I don't think you have the authority to do that without a town meeting vote. And it's not a place we need to go in order to make sure that the habitat protection that it's called for in the beach management plan happens. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Just a couple of closing things, Bill. Just to reaffirm, excuse me, when the Army Corps asked for these easements, their main concern was access for the public to the property. I've actually called up the Corps and reconfirmed that in the last 2 months. They got that. The sand was placed and things happened. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, as Bill, I've already opened up collaborative relationship with Mass Fish and Wildlife. And we're talking about what to do that could be a win-win-win for the town, for the people on the beach, and for Mass Fish and Wildlife. So again, I just urge you, there's no need for these easements. There's no need to put threat on the town or threat on us. Respectfully, thank you very much for listening to what I had to say. Bill, maybe you could read from Bob's letter. Thank you.
Yeah. Mark, I mean, I'm suffering from the eye surgery that I had, and,
You want me to read, Mr. Chair?
essentially, Alicia, I was gonna go over the key points in the packet, but they would be
That's right, yeah.
totally redundant of what was said by Mark and what George has done a great
Do
job
you want me to go through
articulating.
them real quick?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. The documents included in this packet that was presented to the board is,
Which is your third packet, by the way, folks.
it's bulleted. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points. I'm just gonna go through them. The town never formally accepted the easement. Articles 2 and 3 from the 2009 special town meeting were limited only to 58 and 60 Northern Boulevard. Required follow-up documents were never properly completed or recorded. The Department of Conservation and Recreation's authority, based on the language in the disputed easements, applies only to municipally owned beaches, not private property. Some exhibits were inserted without clear agreement from the property owners. There were material changes made to documents. The state recorded easements, even though the language required recording by the property owner, allowing for final review and acceptance. And there is no clear authority under Massachusetts law for the fines now being threatened. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So as I've already said, I mean, we wanna hear you. We wanna hear you speak tonight. I see that four people have signed up, well, 3 including George, of people wanting to come to the podium to speak regarding the easement discussion. We need to hear you, you need to speak to us. We also have some letters that people submitted, people who couldn't attend the meeting, and maybe I'll ask Alicia to read those as well, Alicia.
Yeah, I'll read them at the end.
Sure.
Do you wanna ask anybody else if they wanna sign it?
Yeah, so, like I said, there were four signatures here. Would anyone else like to sign up to come to the podium? Please, come on, come up and,
And sign
I
it.
would like to hear what other people have to say, and then I have a couple questions.
Do you wanna,
I don't think my name is on the list.
no, I
No, do you
would like to
want
get your
to
name
add
on the list so that we can keep track of who spoke,
understand.
okay?
do you wanna come up, Peter, and sign this?
Oh, sure.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Here, try this one. So, do you think I think we should listen from the public first, and then I'll read the letters at the end?
Yeah. And before we start, after Peter sits down, I'll read the typical public comment.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, no worries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, typically, when we have public comment at our select board meetings, we read the following. To receive oral communications from members of the public may address the select board for up to 3 minutes. And that can be adjusted at my discretion. The select board shall not engage in discussion on those topics raised during public comment. But we will take your comments. Joy is very adept at taking notes on what was said. We'll take your comments under advisement, okay? Typically, we limit this to 15 minutes, but that can be extended at my discretion as well.
And, I'll do the timer for 3 minutes to keep it fair.
Right.
Okay with you?
That's fine, and we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes. I mean, there's only about 20 minutes worth of speakers here.
Okay.
Okay, the first person who signed up was Dick Eisenberg. Dick, would you come up and introduce yourself, your name, your address, and
My name is Dick Eisenberg. My wife Peggy and I live at 68 Northern Boulevard. We're kind of newbies here. We've been here just under 6 years, so we weren't here when this was originally signed. But we care dearly about where we are and the beach and the health of the animals that are there as well. You know, in the few years we've been there, we put in 2 snow fences that are one completely covered and the other almost in sand. I planted over 4,000 stalks of beach grass. When I see an egg on the beach, we put sticks around it and try to protect it. And my neighbors do the exact same thing. We really care about where we are and what that beach is like. And it's really hard to understand where this is all coming from 17 years later. And I just don't really understand it. So I truly ask for your support in this, as well as my neighbors do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. How about Peter Murphy?
Good evening, my name's Peter Murphy, 10 Northern Boulevard. You might know that property as as the Suitsus Cottage. It was built back in the 1930s by my great-grandfather. And he built the cottage next to it, one with a nice eyebrow window, which is 8 Northern Boulevard. And I wanted to thank Attorney Hall and the people of Plum Island Foundation for all their time and all my neighbors. I'm up here to support them and ask that we don't move forward and accept those easements. I remember back in that time when everything was going on, we were asked to sign the easements. There was something about it that just seemed rushed and it didn't seem right. Like either do this or this is gonna happen. I think it was 1 or 2 of our neighbors who didn't sign, and there was just all this talk about easements, taking it by eminent domain, and it just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like something you would expect in the town of Newbury at the time. So with that said, I'm here to ask you to see if we can hold off on accepting those easements and just kind of let the process kind of play itself out. We're fortunate in the fact with the Plum Island Foundation members working with the other committees, the Bruce Tars of the world and everybody, and the Harlows getting the sand on the beach. And this always seems like there's been a nice, courteous, respectful attempt to work together to try to get some type of resolve. And at that point, the resolve was having some more cottages fall into the ocean. So, thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Peter. You folks want to come in?
Yes.
Come on in.
The roads are pretty bad.
Welcome.
Doesn't matter where you sit.
Wherever you like. Nice to see you. Good to see you. You too, friend.
It took us 5 hours to get to. Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, would Steve DeSalvo like to come to the podium, please?
Yes, thanks. Good evening, my name is Steve DeSalvo. I'm the owner of 16 Northern Boulevard since 1998. Also happens to be the neighbor of the Bizzata property that Mark referred to that fell in 2008. I'm also the treasurer of the Plum Island Foundation, and I was heavily involved in the easement negotiation and collection process back in 2009, prior to the project, having been involved with the foundation and with the MRBA. In my case, the town actually owns the lot between my property and the ocean. So the easement was really only on the dune that was reconstructed, and sort of my property ends and the easement ends exactly where the snow fencing was put up by the Army Corps in 2010. I always understood, in being part of looking at the language and what my obligation was, obviously there was a construction easement, which isn't really relevant here, I don't think, but the permanent easement was that I had a responsibility to maintain the dune, to not go over my portion of it, because there's a right-of-way, 5th Street right-of-way that goes by my house, which is the public access, and that I would do everything I could to protect it. And I don't personally recall in the language any obligation, any new obligation that I was taking on as it related to the birds, but it's, as a point in fact, on my property, they don't mark there because it's already fenced off anyway, so it's a moot point, and they do, of course, have for years, and even more actively recently, fenced off the area that the town owns, outside my property, which is fine. But, I also would urge, a no vote if you were to vote on accepting the easements for all the reasons that have been stated earlier. Thank you for your consideration.
Well, Steve, thank you for speaking to us. George, did you want to get up again? No? How about Peter?
Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm very appreciative to have the explanation from Attorney Hall, and this 3-page letter really enlightens me as to some of the issues. I have, if I understand this correctly, there is nothing that going forward that will prevent me from allowing Audubon to put strings in front of my property to preserve piping plovers, right? There's nothing that would prevent me from doing that. Because what I've documented over the years is that keeps people off the toe of the dune, and gradually the vegetation continues out onto the beach and preserves the dune. So I'm safe with that one. The second question has to do with, it says the town is free to manage the public sections of the beach as it thinks wise. I've heard all kinds of things about what do we own? What is the public section of the beach? Steve just mentioned that he has a limit, I guess from his deed, as to how far he owns. I've heard things that we own, I've heard it said that we own to the high tide line. I've heard it said we own to the low tide line. In fact, in 1649, the General Court granted free and unrestricted use of the whole island to the inhabitants of Newbury. And that continued in various forms with various easements for grazing and for use of the beach, fishing, fowling, navigation, until around 1888, the Plum Island Beach Company acquired land from Moses Pettingill, and they began to subdivide. And those subdivisions were conveyed with deeds. And I have my deed, and I've done a survey, and I do not own to the high tide line or to the low tide line, which is always changing anyway. So I'm just wondering if there's anyone in the room that can enlighten me as to the policy here. I hear or I read that our ownership goes back to the 1600s when we owned everything. And then I have a deed and a survey that limits, as Steve pointed out, our ownership. Can anybody enlighten me as to that? What do we own?
It depends on the deed. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Sorry?
It depends on your deed.
The deed, that's what I say, yeah.
That's right.
So when properties were subdivided, most of that happened between 1900 and 1925. That describes the property, that's what I've surveyed, that's what I own, okay. Thank you. My next question is with regard to these easements. The actual area of the easement, the nourishment area, is really a small portion, relatively small portion of what's on my deed and what has been surveyed. Reading the easement, I'm not required to let anybody walk on that, but I can walk on it. Right? I am allowed to keep people off of it, but I'm not required, as I understand the easement. I also see on my easement, the lines for the town of Newbury are blank. So as I've learned tonight, the town of Newbury doesn't seem to be obligated to do anything about those easements. And I like that. You know, it makes me feel more a sense of community when we say that we are all gonna be mutually responsible for the betterment of the dune. I have not been harmed by that easement. So I guess my third question, maybe it's a parenthetical question, and I only have one more, which is number 4. Has any property been harmed by the existence of this easement?
Oh, shit.
And this will relate to my next question. Does anybody have any liability by having this easement? Any attorneys advise me?
Can I answer?
Yeah,
I'm
please.
asking the chair whether
Oh.
it's appropriate to answer,
Answer,
okay? So I would say that many people in this room, myself included, felt that the Mass Fish and Wildlife used the easement to abuse the right to fence and post. I brought this issue before all of you, you know that. We brought up no trespass notices because people felt violated. 46 people signed those notices because they felt violated by what Mass Fish and Wildlife was asserting at their rights by the easement. So those 46 people think they were violated.
Okay, so on my personal case, my easement does not correspond to any activities by Mass Fish and Wildlife. They're separate square footage. They're not even connected. So for me, I don't wanna start a dispute. And this leads to the fourth question, which is that our shorefront has been preserved through the expenditure of millions of taxpayer dollars by moving state-owned sand onto my property to protect me and my neighbors. You can argue whether the sand deposited offshore has enabled us to preserve our land or not. I have different feelings about that. But certainly the land that was created by pumping sand onto the beach, authorized in '09, construction work happened in 2010, preserved and probably saved our houses in 2012 when Superstorm Sandy took 6 houses out south of the center. I have photographs of our house going back to the 1900s. Within my lifetime, the houses along Northern Boulevard washed out to sea unless they were pulled back. So I think I'm very nervous about creating an issue with the state whereby there's a dispute so that the next time we need sand, that sand is gonna go to Salisbury instead of to Newbury. That's what I'm worried about. So I think this is a decision where the powers that be have to weigh the harm that we're experiencing. I experience no harm against the potential liability of not getting cooperation in the future from the Army Corps of Engineers, from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, from the Merrimack River Beach Association. Are they gonna hold this against us and send us in somewhere else when we need it? Parenthetical question, but I sure would like to make sure that that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually have an
Come up to
answer
the,
to that, if it's
come up
okay.
to the podium, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Just to the last question you raised, Peter, about the potential for difficulties with future dredges in the Army Corps. Bill, our chair, raised this question actually at a meeting recently, and I called up the Corps. Now, the Corps is not gonna give me a legal definitive ruling that they're gonna sign on a dotted line. They're not gonna do that. However, when I asked members of the Corps, both in DC and regionally, they said what matters to us is public access. That's what matters. And whatever happens with wildlife is not an issue for us. No, I'm not saying it's definitive, I'm just telling you what 2 people said, nationally and regionally. What matters, because I checked it out because you brought it up, Bill, we be able to have future dredges. That was what they said to me. Again, they didn't sign on a line, but I did want to clarify that, because Bill brought the question up also. Bill?
Thanks. Okay, for the people that arrived late, if you have something to tell us, to share with us, please come to the podium.
Go ahead, come on up.
Sorry we are late, we had so much trouble on the highway.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's almost 2 hours to get here.
Yeah.
So please introduce yourself, tell us your address.
I'm Dirk Casagrande, 42 Northern Boulevard. And when I was approached about the easement in 2009, I was told that if I don't provide the easement, then there can be no reconstruction of the beach. It would be my fault. And there would have to be, the term of the easement would have to be indefinite so that the beach can be reconstructed every time it erodes. Well, after the state fixed a groin at the head of the Merrimack River, since then, the beach has widened itself, and we have sandbars out there now, all because the current was diverted out from the shore. If I'm not mistaken, I've been charged property tax for my entire property, which includes the easement area, since 2009. And that just simply doesn't seem fair. I hope that the town can reverse the easements and give the beachfront property owners back their property. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. Anyone else?
Thanks, Dirk.
Nico Casagrande, Dirk Casagrande's son, 42 Northern Boulevard. Just really quickly, I'd like to say that, you know, these focusing specifically on the turns and the environment that they cause, you know, it can lead to quite a bad reputation for Plum Island Beach. I know that there are many people, when I say I love to be at Plum Island, they say, oh yeah, but I don't wanna go there because I've heard about those greenheads. And the greenheads are nothing compared to these turns. This can lead to less tourism, which has a direct impact on the local businesses in Newbury and hence the financial impact on the town. Thanks.
Thank you, Miko.
Thanks, Nico.
Okay.
Please, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Barbara Hopkinson, 64 Northern Boulevard, and I've lived on Plum Island since I was 3. And, you know, I lived in the Newburyport section, grew up there, and then fought my way back after school to, because I love the island so much. And so now I'm in the Newbury section on 64 Northern. But when I remember when the easements came through, I really didn't think I had a choice in the easements at that point, and I didn't totally understand what it meant, other than I was in favor of protecting the wildlife and the birds. And when they first started putting some of the fencing around, I remember they fenced it so I couldn't even get to my own beach. And I called them, and they were cooperative. They did come back and change it, you know, and open a path, you know, so that myself and my guests could get to the beach. But it just seems, I'm not sure I understand all of the implications really, but I would just honestly urge you to not let them just do whatever they want with these easements that don't seem like they're all that well organized anyway. And we've been cooperating with each other for many, many years. And I think we all love this island, like I do. Thanks.
Thanks, Barbara. If there's no one else, Alicia, want to read the letters that came in from people, please?
Sure. So I have a letter here from Eleanor Godin. Dear members of the Newbury Town Select Board, I am unable to attend the public meeting scheduled for March 3rd, 2026 regarding the vote pertaining to the 2010 Plum Island Beach access easements. I have owned a property on Plum Island for over 20 years and strongly urge you to vote no on accepting unfiled and misexecuted easements from the Plum Island beachfront property owners in 2010. Thank you for your consideration of my opinion and the other opinions that will be presented at the March 3rd, 2026 meeting. Sincerely, Eleanor Golden. This is a letter from James McCletchy and Ellen Sullivan at 72 Northern Boulevard. Dear members of the Select Board, we are writing to express our full support of the position presented by the Plum Island Foundation regarding the easements issue scheduled for discussion and potential vote at your upcoming meeting. We, James McCletchy and Ellen Sullivan, are homeowners at 72 Northern Boulevard in Newbury. After reviewing the concerns raised by the foundation, we are in total agreement with their request that the board refrain from taking action on this matter until further stakeholder engagement and legal review are conducted. When the easements were first requested, we thought it was an overreach, but for the greater good, we signed it in order to protect more homes from being lost. The implementing of this now will devalue our homes without any compensation. The resurfacing of the easements now is a travesty. As directly affected property owners, we share the serious concerns regarding property rights, process, and the broader implications of this decision. We believe it is essential that impacted homeowners be fully heard and that all legal and procedural questions be thoroughly examined before any vote is taken. Unfortunately, we are unable to attend the meeting due to a previously scheduled trip. Nevertheless, we respectfully ask that our position be entered into the public record and considered as part of your deliberations. Thank you for your service to the community and for your careful consideration of this important matter. Sincerely, James Sullivan and James McCletchy and Ellen Sullivan, 72 Northern Boulevard in Newbury.
222.
That's it. That's it.
All right. Sincerely appreciate the fact that you all came out here tonight, especially considering the weather conditions. So we're gonna proceed with the rest of our select board meeting. We have a full agenda. We'll be meeting again as a group, as a select board group again, and we'll be discussing everything, taking everything under advisement that you presented to us tonight. All the literature we've gotten to assimilate. I mean, only one person on the board was on the select board in 2009. Okay, so we're learning and we appreciate the knowledge that you shared with us tonight. We appreciate all the knowledge from the documents that we've gotten from Mark and from Bob and from town council and from George. So please be careful driving home. If you're a glutton for punishment, you can sit here and listen to the rest of the meeting if you want. But what I'm saying is you're free to leave, okay?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
okay?
coming out.
And again, thank you all for allowing us to speak with you. Really, thank you.
Yeah, we have an engine out on the highway.
That's recorded. You want the extra views back?
Barbara, how are you?
I haven't seen you in ages, really.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
I looked up and, oh.
Thank you.
We do it on Fridays.
Nice to see you, Derek.
Really, it is bad out there, everybody.
Affecting me.
Good things.
Yeah. I didn't wanna be the
You want
one.
the extra copies?
Yeah, I'll take you. Okay, I know that's about all of us. Okay. Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for doing all this.
Drive safe.
Was it?
It is bad.
Yeah.
It's about 4. I know, and this exit north is blocked right now.
It is?
I'll tell you what, though.
We're out there right now.
I've been thinking about
It's
calling
blocked?
you.
Yeah, we have a car accident right now there.
Oh, gosh.
So I can't go north?
All right.
You can try.
Oh, north on 95?
Yeah, you can try.
Is 95 all blocked or just the exit?
Just the exit, on ramp, just the on ramp.
Oh, okay, thanks for the notification. You're welcome. Thanks, sir. Again, folks, be well.
All right, drive carefully. The last time we had a meeting
Door
Gentlemen-
open or closed,
Oh,
Bill?
open, please. A gentleman sat in the last row all night, and we should have said to him, are you here for some reason?
You have one for public comment and one for public property use.
Okay, then let's do your public comment first,
Okay.
please.
That's me. You do still have another old business.
No, we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing it.
Never mind.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, my name's Ellen Ellsworth, I live at 18 Moody Street. I thank you for allowing me to come up here and speak, although I guess that's how it goes, I'm learning this process. I attended a recent school budget meeting, last week, that left me concerned at the continued cuts and the need for closer and earlier coordination between towns and the school committee. With the proposed 23 individual cuts, 23 teachers and aides, to keep a level fund budget, it feels unacceptable. And I feel like it's something every resident should understand. Cuts to the school mean reduced performance and diminished ability to attract new families and taxpayers. I personally moved with my husband to Newbury 10 years ago, and the quality of the public school system was at the top of our list. I'm a product of the public schools and believe deeply in the role that they play in shaping opportunity and community. Our schools aren't just a line item. Strong schools protect the property values, they attract families who stabilize the tax base, they sustain volunteerism, they keep our town vibrant. It's not a small constituency. These students represent the next generation of taxpayers, small business owners, tradespeople, teachers, civic leaders. I value that we're a community with many longtime residents. Balance matters. But balance only works if we're also sustaining the next generation. We've seen what happens in neighboring towns like Georgetown when support comes too late. Families and educators leave before an override is approved, and then rebuilding becomes far harder than maintaining strength. I don't want Newbury to be, or for Triton to be the next situation. So tonight, I'd simply like to know, where does each member of the select board stand on the Triton budget, and what steps are being taken to ensure earlier coordination starting immediately and moving forward? Residents deserve clarity before the town meeting. Thank you.
And when we have public comment, clearly, we don't have dialogue.
Yes.
Okay? And I respect you for your
Yes, I know that.
issues, okay? And you're not gonna get a show of hands or.
That's okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, we would be violating the open meeting law.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And I'm sure you must have spoken up at the school committee meeting that they had the other night, the open mic session.
Correct.
Okay, that's excellent.
Yep, I did. And I understand that.
Yeah, I
recognized you.
you
It
were
was not
very-
planned, this time it was planned.
You were
Very
very
well
well
spoken.
spoken.
Yeah.
Yes, you were very well spoken.
Thank you.
We watched.
So thank you.
Thank you for speaking up.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out in the snow.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
careful of driving back. Okay,
It's gotten worse.
the only remarks I have from the chair is, there's gonna be a very important DCC meeting Thursday night, March 5th.
In Salisbury.
6:30.
At Salisbury Town Hall, 6:30. We posted it as a select board meeting there in case more than two of us want to attend. And if you're free, I strongly suggest you go if you're available. I plan to be there, Alicia plans to be there.
Patrick and I will be.
Good,
available.
excellent.
Yeah, we're all going.
Perfect.
So our legislatures are gonna be there too. They're the crux of the problem. I suggest you come to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All three of them, I think. Bruce Starr.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I'm sharpening my tongue.
Don Shan. Okay, those are, the other thing I just want to bring up is that, today, last week I said we were looking for someone to, put out nomination papers for the Triton Select, school committee, and someone pulled papers today. I'm not gonna disclose his
No,
name.
no, he's gonna turn it back in,
Yeah.
but we have a candidate, so that's good.
And I also
Hopefully.
said we didn't have a candidate for the tree warden, and someone pulled papers for that today, which is good, which is excellent, actually.
So hopefully all of our seats will be full.
And the ZBA.
ZBA, we're all set.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, grants, gifts, and donations. We have acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Council on Aging, $50 from Tom and Marjorie Carroll.
A motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstaining? No. Good. Acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Council on Aging, $250 from Massachusetts Elks Association, East District PER Association.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstaining? Hearing none. Acceptance on behalf of the Newbury Council on Aging, $25 from David Winters.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? Hearing none. New business. We have a public property use request from the Byfield Newbury Baseball Softball League to use the Pearson Field, Lunt Street and Byfield from April 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2026.
Do you wanna take these two together?
Sure. It is the same another public property use request from the Byfield Newbury Baseball Softball League to use the upper green field off High Road from April 1st, 2026 to June 15th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Are you here for this? Did you wanna speak
Come
or
up and
no?
advertise yourself.
No. All right,
All
no
right,
discussion.
thanks for being here, okay? So, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? I don't hear anyone. We're not gonna discuss the Byfield Fire Station to the extent that we thought. We can just say that, there was a negotiation done. Protection Company One took it back to the membership.
Drive safely.
Careful
The
drive.
membership discussed it, they took it to their lawyer, legal counsel. Counsel did some changes to it, sent it to our council, and it's back to them now, I think, back to their council. So,
So there's movement.
there's movement, there's movement, and, which is a good thing. I'd like to have it resolved.
We need both. We need a result because
Town
financially,
meetings,
we need a result.
town meetings fast approaching.
Well, we're getting close to town meeting, exactly. Okay, next is the request of the Newbury Fire Chief under Article 2 of his new contract to continue his call employment with the West Newbury Fire Department, where he serves as the Deputy Fire Chief and a volunteer member of the West Newbury Board of Fire Engineers.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request of the Newbury Fire Chief under Article 2 of his new contract.
Second.
No, second. So, this, I'm gonna actually amend that I move that we request to approve the Newbury Fire Chief, the request of the Newbury Fire Chief under Article 2 of his new contract to continue his call employment with the West Newbury Fire Department, where he serves as a Deputy Fire Chief and volunteer member of the West Newbury Board of Fire and Engineers, effective beginning July 1, 2026.
Second.
Second.
Okay,
Yeah,
discussion. Before we have discussion, Chief Evans submitted a letter, which is in your package, dated January 28th. He addressed it to Tracy. Per the new fire chief contract under Article 2, term, I am requesting permission to continue my call employment with the West Newbury Fire Department as Deputy Fire Chief and as a volunteer member of the West Newbury Board of Fire Engineers, I have faithfully fulfilled my full-time duties as fire chief for the town of Newbury without any interruptions in services. Please let me know if you require any further information or documentation. Respectfully, David Evans. My recollection is that, Chief Evans, please, the podium. My recollection is that you were on those positions before you came to Newbury.
Correct. I was on those positions. I've been a call firefighter in West Newbury since 2007, so I'm coming up on my 19th year there. Promoted to deputy chief in 2016. I have held other full-time positions at the same time, and it has not posed any problem in the past. I was a full-time administrator for a school district. I was a full-time director of the Mass Fire Academy. I was a full-time lieutenant for the town of Groveland. And all those took precedent over what I was doing in West Newbury. I actually got a text from another fire chief on the way over here, and I'm not gonna share that tonight, but he was, if I were you, never mind, I'm not even gonna go there. But I actually printed out my payroll that I emailed to Tracy every 2 weeks, every Monday, and I wanted to and I know you guys see it, but at one point, you know, I work, you asked me to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. I've never done that for you guys. Never done that. I have worked Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, since I started here. In fact, as Tracy knows, she yells at me all the time to take time off, as does my wife. I did. I took Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's off, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday this week, because I work every holiday, so this town is protected. So some of our full-timers can be with their kids, or their wife, or their significant other on major holidays like I was taught when I was growing up through the ranks, through my father and other mentors in the fire and police departments and educators. And I can count on one hand in the last 6 months how many times I have gone to a call for West Newbury because I was on calls here. I'm not gonna shirk my duties for the town of Newbury. But I want, if you want, I know there's public records and you see all the payrolls and all that. The last month, I did 72 extra hours 2 weeks ago for the storms. Storm before that, 32 hours, you know, on Saturdays and Sundays. I don't shirk my duties for the town of Newbury. My passion is for the town of Newbury. You know, I took the time. I know there was an email sent to all of you. I know, I don't know what to tell you. I'm here every day. I do everything I can for this community, whether it's Council on Aging, whether it's our seniors, whether it's the schools, whether we start new programs, we work with the PTA, we work with the police department very well. That's why you saw me get up and leave. I had to take a phone call from Chief Fisher about something she's dealing with. So it's 24/7, 365 for the town of Newbury and the Newbury Fire Department. And all I ask is that I'm allowed to do what my former contract said I could do. It never addressed it. That was a new article, that amendment that was in my contract this year that I did question with Town Administrator Blaze. And if I've done something wrong to have that put in there, I would appreciate a conversation with somebody. I don't have a problem with it being in there, but I'm here for you people every day, every day. I take phone calls at 10 o'clock at night, I take phone calls at 2 in the morning, just like a good fire chief or a public safety person does. All I ask is that I'm allowed to continue that and keep my ears going through West Newbury, because I am a resident of West Newbury. My wife's hometown, my kid's hometown. I do have an attachment to them. I've had conversations with Wendy, the chair of the Board of Selectmen in West Newbury recently, no problems. I have had another conversation with the police chief, Mike Dwyer, no problems. Had a conversation with the Board of Fire Engineers over there, not an issue. You know, there are other people with full-time jobs that work for me, that it's not an issue. They're officers for other fire departments and they're per diem or call guys for us. We don't exist without our call and per diems that have full-time jobs out there and work for us. So, you know, I know there are people out there that wanna cut us down. We do nothing but good things for this town. And all I ask is that you allow me to do it. If you tell me I have to leave, I understand that and I will respect your decision. But I've already talked to Tracy about how much longer, you know, that I would, you know. I wanna honor my 3-year contract for the town of Newbury. That's my goal. That's my goal. You know, so I understand you have to ask it, you have to take it under advisement, you have to vote on it. And I appreciate all of you, I respect all of you. And I said it the day I got sworn in, it's a privilege to work for you. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I will do what you ask me to do in the long run, but I just ask that you would consider that, that's all. But I do have my payroll for the last 8 months, all of this new year and back to September, if, you know, if you haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, any discussion from anyone else? Any discussion points, any questions?
I have some questions.
Sure.
I think you're doing a great job, first of all. And I understand that you've remained with West Newbury, but it wasn't that long ago that your contract came up and it was discussed about you were not being a part of that program anymore. And I believe that's what we voted on.
I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the contract document in front of me, but it
I agree
says
with you.
he can't do it without the written permission of the select board, and the reason that was put in was on the advice of council, not because anything had happened or there was any negative connotation around it, just that the chief would make the board aware of it, that you would know that he was engaging in that activity, that's all.
And if I'm not mistaken, the way the new contract was written, wasn't specifically written that way because it was written for Dave Evans. It was the way new contracts were written for the deputy fire chief, deputy police chief.
Yes.
So it's, and this is a departure from the first contract that Dave Evans had. And for those 3 years under that contract, he did exactly what he's asking to do now. He did it before he came to work for Newbury. He did it for the first 3 years while he worked at Newbury. And it doesn't appear at all as if it affected his support for the town of Newbury, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's not my argument. I'm not even having an argument. I was just the concerns on what we had all agreed upon. And so I guess it's like a learning process for me to understand that we can
Concerned with
actually
what I've been
change.
doing, Liz, or concerns of what the board voted on?
Well, what the board voted on.
Okay.
So, you know, to withhold our own votes
Sure.
as well.
Sure.
And just to make sure that, you know, legally we're all in the right chair.
Sure.
Are you finished, Leslie?
Well, for now.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
I have a question. Your current contract, when does that expire?
June, the last day of June, 2026.
The last day of June. So this new contract that we have already approved goes into effect on July 1st.
Correct.
So that's it. That's my only question. Thank you.
Anything else? Leslie, anything else?
No.
Jeff?
No.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we're in discussion. All those in favor?
Want to read the motion one more time?
I move that we accept the request of the Newbury Fire Chief under Article 2 of his new contract to continue his call employment with the West Newbury Fire Department where he serves as a deputy fire chief and volunteer member of the West Newbury Board of Fire Engineers, effective July 1, 2026.
It's a roll call vote or just a straight up vote?
No, just a regular vote. That's the motion, and
That's the
did
motion.
you second it?
We already had a second, we had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? No? Dave? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for all you do.
Dave. Thank you for what you do for us.
We know it's more than a 40-hour-a-week job, and the town of Newbury thanks you very much.
And I don't do it for the thanks, Alicia, I really don't, but I appreciate it.
It's a calling.
It is, it is.
You need to know that you're
And those
very
people
much
out there that
appreciated.
don't understand it, are the ones that we try to convince every day.
Well,
And
some people
Lisa
will never
Rice-
be convinced.
And sometimes these are the reasons why I ask these questions, because I've already seen some pushback from social media on this, and it
So I have to.
was pretty.
Oh, ignore
Probably the
social
same.
media. Social media does not matter.
For some people it does.
It doesn't matter, it's just somebody's opinion, they're not up in public saying they're in their own little vacuum that is totally irrelevant to the town of Newbury.
I just wanna have the right answers.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I am very proud of
I agree.
all of my public safety departments.
Thank
And I
you, Chief
ignore
Evans.
social media.
Righty, and please drive carefully, we don't have 3 inches out there, we probably have 5 now.
Yeah.
And all the roads are,
Dave, I want to thank you, Joe. And we're striving to have a really good fire department, working in that direction, and it's guys like you that are gonna bring us across the finish line. Thank you.
No, I had a great conversation with Tracy 2 years ago. We were trying to get some leadership stuff taken care of for the town. And we've been working our tails off for the last 2+ years. And I was able to fly a gentleman in on my own dime from Indiana to do a leadership training for all the officers. And we did it this past Saturday at the Byfield Station, and it was one of the most encouraging trainings that I think all 10 of us took together. And I was on vacation, mind you, but I came back
Why does that
for it.
have to be on your dime?
Because I asked the gentleman myself. As a, so,
You can get reimbursed for it.
nope, not gonna even ask for it.
I remember sitting at this board when we interviewed you for the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking you the question, you know, what would you do? Like, your first day, when you first get appointed as chief. And you came to the board and you had a document, you had a written plan of what you would do, which is something that I was trained to work with a GE for 39 years. That really impressed me, and what impressed me even more, that you took it upon yourself to revisit that plan after a period of time to say, I did this, this is done, and I respect you a lot.
Thank you, thank you. It's a work in progress every day. It's a work in progress, so I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
You'll probably have another late night tonight.
Be safe.
I am, yeah, I'm not even supposed to be in tonight. I'm supposed to be still on vacation, but you were more important.
Thank you for coming,
Thank you.
Dave.
Yeah, be safe.
Your wife must be a saint.
She is the same. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, next is review and approve.
No,
of-
20 minutes. Board.
No, there is no town administrators
Okay,
for tonight.
meeting
Meeting
update.
updates. Jeff, any meeting updates? Leslie?
Nope, no meeting updates. Well, I did watch the school committee meeting from last week, and it was long, intense. So I think that the DCC meeting is going to be a little longer and intense as well this week.
I think it might be a little tamer because the legislators are there. But I think the meeting next Monday is gonna be more.
School committee meeting.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the meeting to watch and to attend.
You know, when you're talking about that, I'm probably not gonna get into it too deeply, but it was never our job on the DCC to be involved in striking a number, which we're getting asked to do for the budget. It's absurd. First of all, the whole process could involve an override, it might have to involve an override. It's ludicrous what's going on
It's a
right now.
discussionary group of people to bring the ideas to the table.
It's just-
We're
it's
not there
just-
to,
I mean, we all support the budget, but we were never the key components of striking a number for our town. Am I wrong, Tracy?
We don't have the wherewithal to do that. We don't, I mean, no.
Do you know what goes into the
offense.
school budget? Do you know what collective bargaining agreements they have? Do you
And
know
I
what their
certainly don't
steps
have a
are?
magic wand that can pass, an override.
Well, never mind that. We don't have, it's not our role to put together the school budget. But I plan on attending the DCC meeting, and
And,
I will
mean,
address some of it there, and
I don't mean to
I-
throw Patrick under the bus or telling,
Up and running.
them what we can pay, because we can't.
I plan on attending the March 9th meeting, and I'll have public comment, because I believe our constituents, that's why that woman was in here tonight, was misled by some comments given at the school committee, so I need to correct the record. The select board is not the correct governing body to dictate what kind of a school budget to have. It's not, we gotta stay in our own lane, and so I'm gonna address that publicly at the school committee meeting as well, on March 9th.
So that's why I said that should be a really interesting meeting.
Two of them. Okay, so I move we approve.
Hang on, we got one more meeting update.
Sorry.
I have
I
any
did go to
meetings?
that DCC on the 12th, which was the day after the school committee meeting where they passed the tentative budget, so, if you haven't watched it, it was, well, anyway. One thing I think that was important that came out of that for us to think about is the question came up about the regional agreement and reopening the regional agreement, and would Newbury and Rowley be open to a discussion of the Triton regional agreement?
For what purpose?
To go back to some of the things that were done in the past, particularly with respect to enrollment and we all know the formula for how they come up with how to calculate the assessment to each of the towns. A part of that formula is the percentage of students enrolled by town. So I'm gonna speak a little bit from what I think I know, but I'm not entirely sure this is true. But in the past, there was a time when that percentage was a rolling average over 5 years. So it smoothed out any sort of
Yeah, no,
spikes.
that's not correct.
Okay.
It was the way, the method, what you're speaking to is the alternative assessment method, which is what, as a small working group of people, I was on
We
that.
never did it.
We looked at it, we did do
Well, we
it, I
never
looked
did
at it.
Yeah.
I looked at it, Erica, with the chair of the
I was
finance
part of it,
committee,
yeah.
we looked at it. And it was not, for several reasons, many different reasons, it wasn't sellable at town meeting. And it needed all three, in order to have an alternative assessment, it has to be unanimously approved by all three town meetings. And we looked at it several different ways, could never come up with something simple. If you don't agree, or you can't pass any type of an alternative assessment, it automatically defaults back to the statutory method anyways. So there was never a rolling average, that was something that we had looked at, but then it was the fairness, it would look as if one town was subsidizing another town, and it's not sellable. So if they wanna open up the regional agreement for an alternative assessment, that would be a whole nother thing, it would have to have a whole other committee to look at it, and I've been there, I personally don't think the juice is worth the squeeze.
Didn't we have that meeting at the Rowley Fire Station?
Right.
We did.
And that's
You know,
when Frank Visconti said that whole proposal is dead
Dead
on
on
arrival,
arrival.
dead on arrival.
Yeah.
There
What's
was
hard
no
is this.
support for it.
Things are expensive. They're expensive at a town level, they're expensive at a school level. We have Proposition 2.5.
Right.
I mean, you might wanna say Proposition 4.5 someday.
That's what they're looking
But-
at.
You gotta look at different answers, you're gonna have to trim the size of the school plant, the size of the town plant. Or you're gonna have to have the ability to be able to tax more revenues within the town.
So the
But
school,
a certain number of houses in our town, after a while, are gonna have trouble paying for, even though everyone says we have a low tax rate, you know,
Evaluation
if
level
there's
is
a
high.
finite, probably have to build a lot more Central Streets, 34, we're gonna need more houses, inventory.
so the school committee is going to continue to be in a very, difficult situation because there's not gonna be enough money for this budget. And every year it gets worse and worse and worse. And the driver behind that, well, the towns too, but the school in particular, I wanna separate them for a second. This, because chapter 70 money is so inequitable and so, it's not only is it inequitable, there isn't enough money, it's so woefully underfunded for over 300 communities. More and more of the burden of the cost of the public education, and Triton in particular, is gonna fall on the 3 towns that it supports. Currently, we pay over 80% of the cost of that budget. It is a $57 million a year proposed budget this year. 57 million. Our budget is what, Tracy, 25? Okay, a little more than 25. Newbury and Salisbury and Raleigh, Salisbury might be a little bit more, I think Mike said his is like 35 million.
No.
And then Raleigh is close to us. So you having 3 small communities with the state is not giving us any money for public education, and the cost of it is going to on us. And that's not gonna change until the chapter 70 formula changes. So every year coming up, the school committee is gonna be in a more and more difficult situation to provide an adequate education to the students, our students of the district. But the answer isn't coming to the select board, asking the select board to support a budget. That's not the way it goes. They need to provide a budget that they feel adequately educates their kids, and then bring it back to the town.
And that's why 2 towns vote out of 3.
All 3 towns, that's why it has to have 2 towns, has to pass it, one
It's
doesn't.
been that way for as long as
Right.
It's also why every single school committee member is elected by all 3 towns, not
Mhm.
by any
Right,
single
that's
town,
right.
because they're
Correct.
actually not representing their
Absolutely,
town, they're representing the
absolutely.
entire.
And the school
Right.
committee needs to remember that.
And thank you for talking about the regional agreement, because I think part of the DCC, the purpose of it is those of us who go regularly should be bringing up the issues back to this board. And so it is not a deliberative body, it is
Right.
not a
No.
decision-making body.
Right.
It's
That's right.
certainly
I
not
mean, it can
fiduciary body,
participate in all
a
those
financial
things,
body.
but it's not a final
Yeah.
benchmark for an answer.
I was in the
Never has
beginning
been.
when the DCC was created. I remember this. I was the first appointed member of that. I remember going to those meetings. It was, the purpose of the DCC was so that the school district would have a way to communicate with the 3 towns of which it serves, to make sure that if something happened, like we've had, windows leaking over in this, and we need to hurry up and get it fixed, there was a way to call the 3 towns together with the district and communicate those issues. It was never meant to be, how much can you afford? Because that's not our role. It's their role. They're elected to provide the education for the students. And they know those
If we
answers.
started to do that, they wouldn't even like it. Suppose we went the other way all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then you'd
That's
be
why
a
it's
real
important.
hullabaloo.
Right. That's why it's very, very important that they maintain their level of programming. They have to.
Maybe we need to reverse DCC, maybe the school committee should sit out there sometime and report to the select board.
We could do that. We could ask our school committee members to come in and.
We used to.
So.
Whittier
I would-
does.
I would caution against that because, to the point I made earlier, the school committee members are elected by all three towns. So I wouldn't wanna say, let's have the Newbury School Committee people come in and sit with this board. I would say, let's have at least a representative from each. You know what I'm saying?
The
So
three
I think-
towns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to. I mean,
Yeah.
you-
I don't think we do either. I
their
just- I
their
just-
meetings are
yeah.
open. You can go to
Yeah.
their meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
There used to be a very adversarial relationship between the town of Newbury under a former select board and the district. And I've worked hard, Jeff's worked hard at making, Tracy's worked hard at making that relationship better.
Newbury's
I
been
don't
very-
like the direction it's going in right
The
now.
town's been very supportive of education.
Very
Newbury's been
supportive of it.
Very supportive of
It
education.
wasn't that way.
It wasn't that
Wasn't
way.
always that way, and it's going to continue to be that way because that district, those schools are our schools. They exist to serve the three communities. We don't have an education system, we don't have schools
Well, and we're
without
also
training.
lucky that we have a guy like Brian and the people that work, step.
Yep.
Because in the old days, we didn't have the ability to communicate with our superintendents at Triton. It was pretty tough,
Really?
so,
I remember under Gary, I called him one time, he didn't even call me back. And I was a parent. So that's how
And
different
the
it
English
was.
guy was, I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah, doctor or something.
It was different.
That was before Sandy even.
That was before you.
It was before Sandy Halloran.
All right, meeting updates, anything?
That's all I got.
I motion to approve the draft meeting minutes of February 24th, 2026.
We don't have discussion on this, do we? All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain, I was not there.
Motion to sign warrants.
Motion approved.
Second.
You second it, Jeff?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.